the Houston city government took a lot of the councils. We have a lot of international, relations here because of the oil and gas. And so he goes, oh my gosh, fried Oreos. Those are the best thing. I said, oh, we are corrupting our brothers from Equatorial Guinea with fried Oreos. Of all the things we could send back to EG,
that's right. Diabetes.
That's
You're
going to
welcome.
be it. Did I screw that up?
And you can get Listen Up for only $14.99.
So yeah, we did go to the rodeo in Houston. For people who don't know, it's rodeo month.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Season.
Rodeo season. Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. And, they have livestock show and rodeo and concerts. That's the only thing that's not in the title, self-explanatory.
That's right.
So yeah, some people go like every day. Some people have tickets and go every day.
That's crazy to me, right?
It is crazy, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people serve on committees. We have, Joseph and Sarah serve on committees, parade committees, and lots of volunteers. It's mostly all done by volunteers, and it's huge, massive.
It is.
And there's also, so you have rodeo every week, every day. There's rodeo competitions, and people are qualifying to get into the weekend, which pays more. You can get, qualify for the big, or you can be wild carded in kind of stuff. It's got all the typical rodeo, calf wrangling, team calf wrangling, bronc riding, bareback, saddle bronc, cattle riding. Sound like that Forrest Gump. Fried shrimp. Fried shrimp. Shrimp gumbo, shrimp etouffee, all sorts of cowboys. Then they have chuck wagon races, and they have mutton busting, which if people don't know mutton busting, where they take a little kid, put him on the back of a sheep, he runs across the field.
What could go wrong?
He falls off, gets kicked in the head, cries on the.
the root system of that started in our church.
Mutton busting?
Yeah. Ryan Smith and some of his cohort started that.
I didn't know that.
A number of years ago.
Then they have a big stage they put out, and there's a different artist. And we've had people through the years like Garth Brooks or Clint Black or, country, rock.
Leonard Skinner.
Jelly Roll, 50 Cent was there.
Drake.
I heard Drake.
My son would say Drake, who was...
He went?
Mm-hmm.
So I went 2 nights back to back. The first night I sat on the very front row.
Oh.
Got dirt all in my hair when the chuck wagons were racing coming by. The horse is literally like you're up against the gate, and the horse is on the other side, and they just walk by and they just poop right in front of you, and it smells like a farm, like a rodeo should smell. Yeah, so there's that. And that first night I went, it was Nickelback.
Nickelback.
Yeah.
This photograph.
I'm glad that you know a Nickelback song, because I have no idea. I mean, I've heard of Nickelback, and I know that some people really love Nickelback.
And a lot of people.
And the concert was one of the top 3 turnout. Wow. They've been around since the 90s. I just don't know, but like 1 or 2 songs they sing. And the rodeo, it's not a full deal concert. It's usually an hour to an hour and a half between that. So you get kind of their greatest hits. They don't play like, hey, here's all the stuff from our new album.
Here's our new album from 1982.
And so they played all their greatest hits and 3 or 4 songs, and I still didn't know what they were. Yeah, so I left. I was like, I'm not doing this. Then the next night we went, and we actually got to sit up in a suite, which is very nice, and watch the rodeo again. And then Zach Brown Band. Who I really like. That was really good.
Yeah.
That was really good.
And
it fits more of a rodeo feel.
Yeah. Yeah. More rodeo crowd. Or typical.
So yeah, rodeo goes on, and then it winds down about this time of the year. Sunday was the last day of the rodeo. It's the week before Palm Sunday. It shuts down, which is good because now we're coming into Holy Week. We're through spring break. It's a good time for it to shut down.
Yeah. There's kids all across the state.
Did you go?
I didn't. My son did.
Oh.
When we lived in Lubbock, Texas, all these kids in, FAH. Yeah. That would
FFA.
FFA.
Yeah.
That would have they would have cows and.
Yeah, you raise kids do the calf wrangling, and if they catch a calf and tie it up and bring it back in the box, then they get a certificate for a steer or a heifer that they get to raise themselves through the school. There's a lot of that in schools, and then they get to show it at the rodeo,
year.
whenever, and then they sell it, and somebody like Matt, who's on a meat diet,
Just
buys
says,
it
Thank you, children.
and says, "Hey, thanks for raising this nice prime beef for me, so I can
Organic,
continue
hopefully.
in my diet, my meat diet." So yeah, it was fun. I mean, it's good, but now we're heading into Holy Week. Well, so when this is going to come out on Friday, it'll be maybe a day or two before Palm Sunday, and we'll be entering into Holy Week. And so what I thought we'd talk about a little bit this week and next week are some Lenten Holy Week kind of themes.
Yeah.
But the one I wanted to start with as we lead into Holy Week, so people can kind of get ready, is this whole idea of a prayerful practice of focusing on a crucifix.
Yeah. So
Sounds really exciting. I can tell when you just did that, you were like,
Thank you,
"Oh
John."
my gosh, John, that sounds so exciting."
the prayerful practice
Of
focusing
focusing
on a crucifix.
on a crucifix. Do you know what a crucifix is, right?
I do. It's the little man on the cross.
Well, you were paying
Is what
attention this morning at staff work.
Well, I mean, also I dated a Catholic girl for a while.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, got this podcast, another podcast.
So, so crucifix, for those who may not know, we have a cross, and for Protestants, it's typically empty. For Catholics in the Orthodox faith, it's Jesus hanging on the cross, dying on the cross.
Sometimes we Protestants like to bejewel it.
We
kinda
do.
get
We
after
turn
that
it
cross.
into
We just
jewelry.
really bedazzle.
Yeah,
the
I mean, the
cross.
cross becomes an accessory for
Yeah.
our already blessed and good life.
That's right. Sold at Buc-ee's for $19.99.
Cross wall is very popular too.
Cross walls
Cross
in people's
wall.
homes. You don't usually see Jesus hanging on those
No,
cross walls.
no.
Yeah, that is a big thing. You're all right about that. I have a cross in my home office, in my home study, that is made out of old reclaimed materials from an old barn that was torn down.
In Georgia or someplace like that.
in the country side of Georgia. So it's all old barn
Wow.
pieces, the wood, the barbed wire, the metal. And so it's kind of like a cross created from things that have died, which is kind of the point of this spiritual practice of meditating or focusing on the crucifix. So I came across a lady named Ruth Haley Barton, who blogs and is a spiritual director. And you can find her at transformingcenter.org. She writes a lot of stuff. But she talked about leading a retreat years ago and was leading those who were there through this whole dark night of the soul, the wilderness, movement from false self to true self, a lot of the Merton and contemplative spirituality. But there's a profound kind of death and dying that has to take place in order for something truer to emerge. And in the break, she was talking about there were several young pastors who were there in their 20s and early 30s. So this was right up your alley, Jeff. It's
Hipsters,
the
Jeff.
hipsters. Yeah, cool. The cool kids. So they were at these hip and happening churches, growing. Everything was positive and good. And she said, I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but it was basically like, does everyone have to go through this kind of death and dying? Yeah. How can we do ministry in such a way that we don't have to pass through such a dark night?
Is there a death bypass? That's what I want to know, John.
And if we can't take the shortcut, is there any way, or if we can't avoid it, then they ask, is there any way we can speed up the process
Yes.
so we can get through it more quickly and get it
Yes.
behind us?
Yeah.
What they were really asking was, isn't there any way that we can be good enough not to have to die? That's kind of the question.
That is a deeply Western question, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think
Maybe just human.
youthful,
Yes.
also,
Yes.
youthful,
Yeah.
aspirational, depending upon kind of your own
Yeah.
ability to do your own things. And so in
Can we speed the dying up, please?
yes.
Get to the other side. How about
And
I
so
just
what
be
she-
numb? Is there an epidural for that, please?
So what she shared with them, which she said, I don't think it's the answer they wanted or were looking for, is they said, even Jesus had to die in order for the will of God to come forth in his life. And if Jesus had to go through it, I don't think that any of the rest of us are going to get away without it.
Didn't Jesus say something similar to that in Matthew, in the Sermon on the Mount? What they did to me, they're probably going to do to you.
Oh, yeah.
We don't like to read that or remember that too much.
You know, Thomas Merton also says, and I don't remember which one, that it's in our suffering in life that we most deeply connect to Jesus.
Yeah.
Because it's the one thing that we share in our humanity the most deeply.
That's really good.
And yet, so as most Protestant Christians, we don't think a lot about Jesus dying on the cross. We don't want to spend a lot of time on that. We want to get to Easter, right? And I've noticed this in recent days. Have you seen some of these newer, like hipper churches or big churches? They start their Easter services like on Thursday night, like Maundy Thursday.
Yeah, like the
Have you
Super
seen it?
Bowl. But
Yeah.
Maundy Thursday is now not Maundy Thursday, right?
Well, these churches probably don't even recognize Maundy
Like, what is
Thursday.
Monday?
Yeah, they don't.
They just misspelled Monday.
Wait, I thought it was Thursday.
Wait, is it? Who's on first?
Hey, you spelled it
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah, so I think they start, like I've seen these churches that they start their Easter service Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday morning, so that they can get more people through, I guess, or whatever. But
Yeah.
they just bypass right through, like, the suffering and the death part. It goes, got to go, do not pass go. No, we go directly straight to jail.
Yeah.
Do not pass go. Do
Yeah.
not collect $200.
Yeah.
We're going to get straight to the resurrection.
Yeah.
Because that's what we want.
Yeah. And I think there's a theology behind that that says he did that for you so you don't have to go through that. Like there's kind of a way of like configuring a spirituality of Jesus that allows us to think that that's actually the normative case, that Jesus did all that suffering so that I can skate through it, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, for those who are listening, and for those who you may share this with someone who may need to hear this word, I think it's good for all of us to go through Holy Week in a very somber and solemn way, and to not rush to Easter.
Yeah.
You know, we already try to do Lent to prepare you, but not a lot of people really engage in Lent.
Sign up for that wilderness.
Exactly.
That's right.
Rodeo going on.
With a rodeo going on.
The rodeo.
When you got fried ding dongs in your face, it's hard to really suffer. isn't it?
So one of the young guys that's been coming to Chapelwood, J.R. Esono. Have you met J.R.?
I don't know.
He's the
think so.
deputy consul for Equatorial Guinea here in Houston.
Okay.
His uncle is the president of Equatorial Guinea.
Dear
And
Lord.
he went to the rodeo for all the Houston city government took a lot of the consuls. We have a lot of international, relations here because of the oil and gas. And so he went, he goes, oh my gosh, fried Oreos. Those are the best thing. I said, oh, we are corrupting our brothers from Equatorial Guinea with fried Oreos. Of all the things we could send back to EG,
that's right. Diabetes.
that's
You're
going to
welcome.
be it. But Holy Week is really about all of us journeying through the rhythm of death, burial, and resurrection. It's one of the reasons why we have, from Palm Sunday, it's kind of this celebration of Jesus coming in to Jerusalem, but at the same time, we recognize that's the beginning of the week. It's sort of they don't really get what entering into his kingdom means, what it's going to mean for him, right?
Right.
They misunderstand. And by the end of the week, they're clamoring to have him crucified.
Right.
And so going through this process of, I think it's for Christians, it should be the most important week of the year where we all make sure we're at Palm Sunday. We all make sure we're going through these special concerts or these worship services, Maundy Thursday worship, Good Friday worship, journey through that.
Yes.
Because it's not a rhythm that we willingly choose any other time of the year or any other time in our life.
That's right. That's right. That's right. It's like showing up to a movie and watching the final kind of, victory scene and not realizing what everything, all the characters, what everything, all the pain and stuff. Yeah. It's really our story too, isn't it? And I think that you've said this a couple of years ago, you won't get Easter if you don't walk through Holy Week. You won't understand, what it means to be human, I think, at the end. And I think most of us Most of the people I know live between Good Friday and Holy Saturday most of their lives.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's exactly one of the things that came up is that, we don't willingly choose or even know how to choose this rhythm of death, burial, resurrection. It's usually thrust upon us.
Right. That's right.
Because life falls apart.
Yeah.
And so there's something about, as Christian practice, kind of going through this as a rhythm, intentionally forcing ourselves to confront that mortality, right? Keep our death before us, that then can prepare us when a diagnosis comes or when our life falls apart or when our job is taken away, we lose our job or we lose a child, or we lose a parent or whatever it is that we
realize we're not in control.
Yeah. And if we've never done any work before that to kind of choose to connect to that, then, then sometimes we go through that in very unhealthy ways.
Yeah.
And then God's the enemy. We hate God. We're angry at God.
Yeah.
Because we just don't understand, why should anything bad happen to me? I'm not a bad person.
Right.
At least I'm not as bad as most people.
Yeah.
So Richard Rohr, who we all really like, well, I say we all are in this room.
Yeah.
We really,
Yeah. Me.
He says, we all find endless disguises and excuses to avoid letting go of what really needs to die for our own spiritual growth. It is always our beloved passing self that has to be let go of. Jesus surely had a dozen good reasons why he should not have had to die so young, so unsuccessful at that point. And he was the Son of God besides. It's always we, in our youth and our beauty and our power and our overprotectedness, that must be handed over. It is really about passing over to the next level of faith and life.
Yes.
And that never happens without some kind of dying to the previous levels. And so one of the practices is to, and I plan to do this next week. Right now, my screensaver on my phone is just rotating pictures of my grandson, Henry. But I'm going to take that picture I shared this morning, which is an old icon, a crucifix icon, so that I can just spend some time reflecting on that throughout the week. That holy rhythm of our faith, death, burial, and resurrection. And let Jesus's passion, hand us into or invite us into the events that week. And you think about the events, Mary comes and prepares Jesus for burial, anoints his feet. Jesus' final teaching about the cost of discipleship, the tenderness of the Last Supper, the pain of betrayal, Jesus handing himself over to his enemies in the Garden of Gethsemane, the journey to the cross, the stations of the cross, the despair of Holy Saturday and the joy of Resurrection Sunday. And that's what I think is important, to be invited into the holy rhythm of death. That's invited to gaze upon the image of the crucified, to be invited into the holy rhythm of our faith, death, burial, and resurrection. As C.S. Lewis said, nothing that has not died will be resurrected.
Ouch. Right?
Yeah, he was a smart guy.
I wonder if, a lot of times I think at least in modern life, that our idea of spirituality is really just a pain avoidance management system. And that we employ our spirituality, like you had said, to keep us protected and away from pain. But really what we're discovering is it's the integration of that. It's like accepting, as they say in some of the programs, that you accept life on life terms, Yeah. And one of the questions I've been asking myself over this season is, what ways am I living that are no longer serving me? Right? What, in a sense, with the question you're asking, what needs to die? Like, how am I living? In what ways are my choices? I'm making choices that are no longer serving what maybe a deeper purpose that God might have in my life. And that's a hard, like you're saying, that's a hard thing to put in front of us, because then I have to face, in a sense, the mirror of my life to say, oh, really I'd rather be numb than alive, or surrendered.
Yeah.
And that's...
Well, and I think that's a good word maybe to end on, is when we're talking about going through the rhythm of suffering, death, and resurrection. Yes, we're talking about meditating on and thinking about our own mortality, our own death.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even more so that makes the difference in life is meditating on the things that you need to die to in this life
100%.
so that you can live
Yeah.
and be resurrected in relationships, in your
Yes.
vocation, in yourself,
Yeah.
in your own faith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Which is what you're talking about.
Yeah. Because if C.S. Lewis is right, then that's the, like, yeah, I need to look at the things like that I'm not going to live forever. That we're
If you're only doing it about like this life, like my life and my
Yeah.
death, then it kind of becomes like the old,
YOLO.
Baptist. The old kind of like, hey, it's your faith is your fire insurance. As long as
Right.
you got that worked out,
Yeah,
but
we're good.
That doesn't have anything to do with Jesus saying, hey, I didn't just come to give you life. I came to give you abundant life,
Right.
in the here and the now.
Right.
This is your opportunity to live in the kingdom of heaven here,
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to die to some things to get them
Yeah.
out of the way.
Yeah.
So I would encourage folks to, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, make sure you subscribe, like, share. That's always good stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
It helps whether you watch this on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I don't know where else it is. I mean, it's just out there.
John,
out
we're,
there.
we're worldwide.
We're worldwide.
Yeah. So
Do you know, I looked up some metric, and I think we're really hot in Vietnam.
crushing it
Yeah.
in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Wow.
Bots, maybe. I don't know.
This recently popped off. This is the first time we've been back together since this reaction video.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's 1.7 million views shown in 2.4 million feeds. It has like, I don't know, 40,000
Look at us in the
likes.
millions. It really wasn't us. It was really Pete Holmes, just so we get
We
right.
got
You know
So-
what?
1,200 subscribers from it, which is cool, to our YouTube.
There we go.
I don't know how many comments, but I mean, there's more than you could possibly even.
Are they all
Aren't even
nice?
flattering.
No,
They're all just like you tools.
Social media.
I mean, this comment has 4,000 likes on it, so the engagement on this was just through the roof. The heads at the top and the bottom added great value to this, which I thought was pretty
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, and 612 people like that.
I know. As an atheist, the way he set up for that ending was brilliantly done. So there's some positive comments, but there's a lot of atheist conversation.
We're crushing it with the atheist channel.
Oh, hey, who
Look
knew?
at that.
Versus
Who knew we would do so well with the
And
atheists?
we said nothing. Lord, I love that.
yeah,
I think
that's what I
you-
love. We didn't say anything. It was just our face like reacting.
yeah, just reacting.
I think the
to
only word we said was nothing.
nothing. Which there's something to that.
Well, this is good. Anything else, Jeff?
I'm gonna have a couple reaction videos, but we can look at them for next week.
Let's do some next week too.
Yeah,
Let's
do
save
next
them. Yeah, that's good.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I'm John Stevens.
I'm Matt Russell.
And this is Pod Have Mercy.